Oh, hello YouTube. Today on The Naughty Librarian, we are filming the next episode of Drunk Classics, and today we're reading The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I'm just gonna get to reading. I'm hoping to read about half of this today. It's kind of short. I think it's only like 270 pages, so it's not too long. I think I can read this, like at least half of it today. But in the meantime, let's talk about which wine I'm drinking. So today, I am having a Gruner Velcleaner. And it's not really a wine you hear about all the time, but it's from Austria. It's kind of a cousin to Riesling. This one in particular though, I'm not 100% sure if I like it. So the deal with Gruner, it is very citrusy because it comes from a cool climate, so you're getting like that lemon peel kind of smell. You're getting a lot of minerality. You're getting this weird herbal note. And like I've had other Gruners before and I haven't had it so herbaceous as this one. This one is real herby. It's not as aromatic as I would expect. It's interesting, but like, I don't know. I'm not like super sold on it, but it's interesting. So I'm gonna like just drink it and see how it, you know, evolves in the glass, so to speak. But let's try it out. Who knows? Maybe I'll like it a lot after a while. Hi. This is glass 3. I blew through glass 2 because I wanted to get somewhere in this. So I just read the first 5 chapters. I figured it's a good time. Let's stop in. Because like nothing really happened until chapter 5. And then like a lot of things happened. So finally we're getting into Raoul and Christine. Our young lovers of this tale. And Christine, she's like a singer. She's like a young girl. She's kind of orphaned, just living her life. And Raoul and her, they've met several times like as children. And Raoul totally in love with her. And the thing is, she's like a Swedish peasant, and he is like the heir to like a French viscountcy or a comte. I don't know what the French word for it is, but like they're on different levels like socially, but he's still in love with her. And then like, you know, there's like, they recount like childhood meetings, blah 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 blah. Then cut to today. They're both like young adults now. Like Raoul is like 21, headstrong and stupid. So he's like a young man, she's a young woman, she's an opera singer, and he keeps coming to the opera and he's like obsessed with her. Just being like a little bit of a creep because he's low-key stalking her. Like every time he goes, he like follows her around the theater, but like doesn't let her know that he's like following her around the theater, you know, like a stalker. Okay, so there's one day, Christine, she finally gets her big break. She sings at the opera, and this is like, oh my gosh, everyone's like, oh, who's this bitch Christine? She's dope. And she like faints afterwards. She's like, oh, fainting, because like bitches just faint all the time. And so she's back in her dressing room, and Raoul shows up, and he's like, hey, remember me? It's Raoul. Like, let's hang out. And she's like, you know, not right now, which is well within her rights. She just fucking fainted, and she's like, hey, not now. And you can't fathom why she wouldn't be obsessed with him back. So he like is still spying on her, and he overhears like her talking to someone in the dressing room, and he will not have this. So eventually like he like pounds on her door, and she lets him in, and he's just like, hey, what the fuck? I heard someone in here. You've been fucking someone. I heard it. And then he immediately realizes, oh no, I have gone too far. Like he has a self-awareness to know, oh no, I have said some things that are bad, and she's gonna be mad at me. But his response to this is not to stop saying bad things. It's just like, hey, I already dug the hole, I might as well keep digging. So he goes off again. He's like, yeah, I heard you talking to someone, and he was in here, and I heard it. And she's like, oh, so you're like spying on me? And he's like, obviously, of course I'm spying on you. I'm in love with you. What? You misheard me. What? So he doesn't play it off very well. And she's like, get out. Like, you came into my place and like you're basically calling me loose. Like, you can like fuck right on out. And he's like, yep, you know, that's a good call. So he leaves. He's just wandering around and like muttering into himself with like the confidence of a man who's never been wrong. So he's just wandering around like, how dare how dare Christine not be obsessed with me? Have you met me? Like, he's just very full of himself. And then, like, he's wandering around a graveyard, you know, I'm assuming solely for the drama, you know? And so he's just, like, being his most dramatic self. And finally, Christine's like, hey, listen. And he's like, oh, Christine, what's up? Fancy meeting you here. And she's like, listen, we got off on the wrong foot, but like, hey, remember my dad, like when he was dying, he told me when he gets to heaven, he's gonna send back the angel of music to come visit me. And that's who was in my dressing room. The angel of music, he comes every night and we do music stuff. And see, here's the moment Raoul could have like made things better, but like the boy has no game whatsoever. So he just laughs at her and she's like, I think someone's pulling your leg. And she's like, I fucking tried. You were a dick and I let it go and I still tried to talk to you and you were a dick again. Like, how are you this stupid? And that's kind of where we leave off. He just doesn't have any game or any sense. And it's like, you know what, Christine, like, you could probably do better. I know you're a peasant, but you're good at singing and stuff, and like, this guy is just the worst. The balls, the audacity, the gall and the gumption of this man. Anyway, I want to continue reading a bit more. Like, I don't know, I read about half the reading I want to do today, so let's go. So, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I've made an executive decision, which was I was going to finish my reading for today. So I read half of the book, which was my goal. So I'm achieving my goals. Look at me. And the thing is, I was like, okay, I'm going to power through. I'm just going to drink. I'm going to read. And when I get to the halfway point, I'll do my check-in. And then I realized the folly of my ways now. Because I think this is, I have not been counting, but I'm assuming this is like 5.5, glass 5.5, because I haven't like been finishing a glass before I refill. So I'm gonna say it's like 5. It's 5. It's glass 5. Okay, so I've got a lot of things to go over. This opera ghost, they've been calling it the opera ghost. And I didn't even mention because it seems like so non sequitur, but like the opera house has this new manager and he's just like, I don't believe in no ghosts. The manager guy is just like, whatever, ghosts, I don't care. You know what? I'm gonna go sit in his box because the ghost has its own box. So he's like, I'm gonna sit in the box. Suck it, ghost. And then the lead actress in the opera, her name is Carlotta, and she's like very dramatic, and he sends her a letter and he's like, listen, you should not perform tonight. Let Christine perform, because if you perform, like, bad shit will go down. And she's like not having it. She's like, never. And so she decides she's gonna perform anyway, and she starts talking shit about Christine, and she's like, oh, it's Christine doing it, everyone should hate Christine, you know? She just like mean girling it up. And you get to the night of the performance, right? And then Carlotta goes on and she's singing, she gets to her big like solo, and her voice just starts croaking like a frog. I don't know how the ghost managed this. The icing on the cake is that the chandelier like just plummets into the audience and it kills someone. After this whole thing goes down, the manager's like, you know what? I'm just gonna give the ghost what it wants. So, and then we go back to the whole Christine saga, but I thought that was just some fun zaniness. Back to Raoul. He is just young and dramatic. And he's like, I need Christine. And he's like full force stalking this girl and he can't find her. And like Raoul loses it. He's like, well, she's obviously fucking someone else and she's a whore and I hate her. And then he gets this note from Christine finally. It's been like 2 weeks since he saw her. And she's like, hey, come to the masquerade, wear this like special mask and I'll know it's you and like we could talk. And he's just like, okay, well, I love Christine again. Like, he's so up and down with his emotions that he's just a toxic human that no one should be in a relationship with. Raoul, our favorite hole digger, he just goes to the masquerade and he finds Christine and he starts digging his hole again. He's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go full force asshole here. And so he's just like, listen, you've been fucking this guy. I know it. You know it. You're a dick. And guess what? I'm a full creep and I follow you around, so you can't fool me. So she kicks him out. She's like, go away. You're a creep and a half. I don't have time for you. I don't know why you think this behavior is like okay, because it's 0% okay. So like, I kind of like Christine. Is she being made into like this naive character? Yes, she is. But she has self-respect. She's like, bruh, no. She will just not put up with Raoul's shit because he's got a lot of shit he's just like handing out and he's digging his hole deeper. So Raoul, of course, because he cannot listen and follow the instructions and take no for an answer because he's a creep, he still follows her around and he's hiding in her dressing room again because he's a creep. And then he hears her going, oh, poor Eric. And she's really sad about this guy named Eric. And he's like, who's this dick Eric? Like, I'll fucking kill him. And like, he's getting madder and madder. And then eventually something happens and he gets like disoriented and like Christina vanishes into a mirror. And he's like, what just happened here? So he is like, just not handling things. So next day, he goes over to Christine's house and he's like, listen, bitch. I heard you were talking about this guy, Eric. You were obviously fucking him. Like, I hate you. But, like, tell me you like me. Like, so dramatic and just so pathetic at the same time. However, Christine, still standing up for herself like a G. She's like, okay, you know what? I'm not your wife. I'm not anybody's wife. You do not own me. You have no say over who I speak to and who I do not speak to. Get the fuck out of my house. And then her landlady's just like, yeah, you get the fuck out of her house. My house. This is my house. You get the fuck out of it. Like, so everyone hates Raoul because he comes in real high-handed and was just like, you can't do this to me. And she's like, I can do what I want. Like, you need to leave. Raoul sucks so bad. However, here's the problem. I'm thinking Raoul's like childhood friendship with Christine is really like his only saving grace here because Christine is still taking him back. He says the horrible things to her and she's like, you were saying horrible things to me and you are going to feel really bad about it tomorrow and maybe I'll forgive you. Like she kind of says that almost exactly. And so she knows he is a piece of shit, but she keeps like fucking with him for some reason. And eventually, you know, they meet up again and she's like, listen, you're gonna leave in a month anyway because he's like a sailor and he's gonna go to the Arctic for like reasons and he's gonna leave in a month. She's like, okay, so you're gonna be here for like one more month and then you're leaving. So for this last month, let's be fiancés. Like, let's do it. You could have a 1 month of my time, you know? And so he takes it. And they're just off being fiancés. And then you find out about this Eric, about this angel of music. And essentially, here's the deal. So Christine, when she was missing for those 2 weeks, it's basically this guy, the angel of music. He like kidnapped her and he like took her underground into like the catacombs of this like opera house. But like for some reason under this opera house is like so much land. There's like a lake. There's a lake under an opera house and he has a little boat in it. And like he takes her around and she's like honestly very freaked out because someone just kidnapped her. So honestly, they're trying to make Christine into like this very naive character, but I feel like she's reacting very well to the situation she's being put into. And she's like, okay, well, I'm kidnapped. I don't want to get murdered. How do I get him to like be nice to me still? She's smart. She's a smart lady. So she starts being really nice to him. She's like, listen, why don't we sing songs and stuff? Let's do music stuff because like that's a thing that like you don't murder me for. So they start like hanging out and she really wants to see what's underneath his mask because this guy, he wears a mask. He never takes it off. And eventually one day she gets real bold and she's like rips his mask off and she sees his face and he is like a horribly disfigured person. And, you know, like I feel bad for him too because obviously he has disfigurements and that's like a reason why he lives underground and doesn't want people to see him. Although when she does rip his mask off, like he goes like 0 to 60 because he's just like, he grabs her by the hair and he's like, look at my face, like just full on nervous breakdown. And like very sad about it, leaves her alone, doesn't damage her more than like grabbing her hair. And eventually she's like, listen, I still like you anyway because your voice is beautiful. It's fine. So she just kind of takes pity on this guy because like he doesn't really hurt her besides grabbing her hair. But obviously she's ripped his mask off. She literally ripped his face off and he's like having a moment. So she kind of understands like his trauma. So she's like, listen, like, we can still be friends. Like, I still like you. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't mind about your face. And I'm assuming this is like the first person who's ever just shown him like kindness. So he's just like, I am in love with you. And like, it's like kind of an obsessive love. But like, it's not the obsession kind of love that Raoul has, where like he feels like he owns her. His obsession feels more like, you are the only person who's nice to me, so I must keep you because you're the only person who's nice to me and it makes me feel good. So it's different obsessions going on with this Christine. Like, she's basically just like the magical lady that everyone's obsessed with. But she's also horrified, quite reasonably, because this guy is literally kidnapping her and keeping her hostage underground in his lair. So she's like, listen, this guy is freaking me out because he's trying to kidnap me. But at the same time, like, I get it. I feel bad for him and I understand his obsession with me, but like, taking me hostage and kidnapping me, not cool. I don't know what to do. And you, Raoul, you're kind of an a-hole too. You think you own me, but you don't. But like, at least you're not trying to kidnap me. So like, it's the lesser of two evils, really. She does not have any good love interest in this whole book. But I feel like I need a pause for today. I don't know if I hit this on myself or not, but I was scared. So on that note, I'm going to pause for today, and tomorrow I'm going to come back and finish the other half of this book. But so far, like, I'm kind of into it. I like the writing style. It's very much like someone's telling you a story, and I'm into it, kind of. So yeah, like, I'm having a good time so far. I like Christine. Surprise of all surprises. Oh, hello. So it's a brand new day. And we're gonna finish Phantom of the Opera today. I have this Gamay. It's a Beaujolais Village, and if you just watched my live show, you have already heard me talk about this wine. But it is a red wine. It's Gamay. It is from Beaujolais in France. However, it's also a trouble wine because it's relatively high in alcohol. Doesn't smell like it's alcohol-y. It doesn't taste like alcohol, so this is where you get into trouble, because you're going to drink a whole bunch of it and then you're going to realize, oh no, I've gone too far very quickly. On that note, I'm going to start reading Phantom of the Opera. I've got half the book to read today, but I think I can do it. Also, I'm like in a new place. I'm in my patio, wearing all of my comfy, warm, comforting clothes. So I'm going to have some me time and get to reading. I read a whole bunch of this book. Like, probably another quarter of it, so it's time to check in because some things have taken a turn. So, where we last left off, Christine and Raoul, they were making plans. They're like, all right, we're gonna run away together because, like, we love each other. And so it's the night they're gonna run away. Christine is performing again, and like, it's like the big number of the show, and then like the lights go out and they come back on and she is just gone. Everyone's like, is this part of the show? And it's not. She's been kidnapped on stage. No one knows what happened. Everyone's like, this bitch is kidnapped. What are we gonna do? So like the detective comes and he's like, tell me what's going on. And everyone's like, it's a ghost. And he's like, oh my God. Like, this poor detective, he's like, you know, like, I had better things to do today, guys. Can you shut up about a ghost? Like, it's obviously not a ghost. Like, what are you doing? So this detective is just like, oh my gosh, just walking around, just like beside himself. But anyway, they're trying to figure out what happened. They're going around the theater looking for like possibilities and stuff. And Raoul is like, no, it's not a ghost, it's this guy Eric. But his story also sounds crazy about like this guy who lives under the opera and has magical powers somehow. And the detective's just like, y'all are crazy and I don't know how, I don't have words. But then this new character's introduced, right? The Persian. By the way, he has no name. Everyone just calls him the Persian. He calls himself the Persian. He's just the Persian. He's like, Raoul, I believe you. I know Eric. Like, I know what's going on. Come with me. We're gonna go get Christine. And Raoul's like, yep, I'm gonna go with you, stranger. It's like, this is how you get murdered, son. This is a stranger. It's like, did he offer you candy to get into his van? Like, he just goes off with this strange man. We find out some stuff from the Persian, and things have taken a turn now. Like the Persian has taken over as narrator. And he's telling the backstory of like, how does he know Eric? Because he knows Eric from before. So everyone's like, okay, what is this? And then finally he starts kind of getting into the backstory. Mind you, I have been drinking, so this is abbreviated. They used to be in India together, and Eric, his like job was amusing the princess. And the princess is a little creepy girl. And she's like, do it again, do it again. And you know what he was doing to entertain her? Strangling motherfuckers. Like he has a lasso. He's really good with lassos all of a sudden. And then like he would lasso people by the neck and hang them, strangling them. He's just Captain Stranglepants. And like that's what he does really well. He's like super good at murder. And that's why the Persian's like, we gotta go find Christine, because he's like off his nuts a bit. Like, like he just strangled people for funsies. Like he's obviously not all there. There is danger here. He's not like this like innocent guy. No. He likes to strangle people, which is like the biggest turn, because so far in the story, like, is Eric kinda creepy? Yeah. But like most of his behavior has been like explained out of like loneliness, and how that's why he's kidnapping Christine, because she's the only person who's nice to him, and he's just so lonely and like just craving some type of human kindness that has kind of made him a little crazy. So he kidnaps this girl, but he hasn't done anything to harm her. In fact, he like let her go too. He's been like really chill about things so far. So I'm like, okay, you know, like kidnapping is not a good look, obviously, but like maybe things could be forgiven. And then we find out, oh no. Is he lonely? Yeah, but he also is just Captain Stranglepants who likes to play with murder. So anyway, Raoul and the Persian, they're underneath the opera, and they're breaking into Eric's house, and they break into the wrong area, because the Persian's like, ah shit, this is the torture chamber. And then I had to pause for a second to talk about this, because I'm like, he just has a torture chamber in his house. Like, that's just how he lives his life. In his, like, underground lake house, torture chambers. Like, oh my gosh, this took a turn very drastically. Anyway, I'm gonna keep on reading and we'll check in again. Okay. I have finished the book. I finished the whole thing. Here we go. Eric, he's just going off. He's basically just like, hey, Christine, you have two choices. One, you marry me. Two, I just kill everybody. I'm killing everybody. Those are your choices. Pick by 11 o'clock. Bye. Mind you, at the same time, he's also just like sobbing and like begging her to love him. So like, there's pity here and you feel really bad for him, but the other side of the coin is like, yeah, and he's also gonna like murder like a quarter of Paris. So I don't know how these like scales are gonna balance out. And I don't really understand how the torture chamber works. Essentially, it's like a hall of mirrors, and like somehow it like turns into a forest. Like you think you're in a forest, like a African forest, and it's really hot. And then like you walk around, and then you're in the desert somehow, and then like I don't understand how you're going on this journey in a room that just has a bunch of mirrors in it. But apparently it just kind of messes with your head. And so the Persian and Raoul are just full on going through it right now. Mind you though, here's the thing. Eric said, hey Christine, you got to 11 o'clock. So they've only been in the torture chamber for like, you know, a few hours. Like they haven't been in there for days. It's been like a few hours maybe. But anyway, they finally figure out how to get out of the torture chamber, so they do. And it's like this trap door, and they go underneath the torture chamber. They're in this like cellar, and they're like, oh, there's all these barrels. I guess Eric has good taste in wine. And so they're trying to open them, and he opens one, and he's like, ah, shit, this is gunpowder. Oh no, bad shit's about to go down. So they're back up in the torture chamber. And then like they hear Eric again. Now he's just going off again. He's like, Christine, the time is now, okay? There's these two levers. There's this one and that one. If you pull that lever, it'll like release all this water and flood the gunpowder. And then no one has to die. But if you do that, you're consenting to marry me. Or I'm gonna pull this other lever, and this lever sets off the gunpowder, and like a quarter of Paris is just gonna explode. Just poof. So, I mean, wow, that is hell of a choice and the hell of a fine print there. Like here, you could do this lever and it turns off the bomb, or I pull this lever and the bomb goes off. By the way, if you pull the lever, you're also marrying me. Of course, you know, Christine's like, all right, I pulled the lever. I pulled it. Because, like, she doesn't want to blow up a quarter of Paris. So she pulls it and all this water's coming out. And here's the thing. Water just keeps coming and coming and coming. It fills the cellar. Uh-oh, it's coming up into the torture chamber. So now they're like, hey, Christine, there's a lot of water in here. So now they're just going to drown. And it just kind of fades to black. Like, oh no, did they just die? They just died? This is how it's going to go? And it's not. It's not how it goes. So Persian, Raoul come too. And Christine and Eric have like pulled them out of the torture chamber. They're in like this area. They're like on a couch somewhere. And eventually they let them go because Christine like consented to be his wife. So she basically like sold herself to him to like save a quarter of Paris, and also Raoul and the Persian. She's like, I don't really think she knows who the Persian is, but she's like, hey, don't kill him too. Like, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. You know what I mean? So she kind of just like bit the bullet on this one. She's like, listen, I'll be your wife. Just don't kill him. Like, can we just not kill this guy? Can it be a wedding present? Like, what do I have to do? Like, I'm gonna be your wife. Can you just not kill this guy? And then the rest of the story is kind of being told in the future, but of the events of the past. Like, it switches out of present tense kind of and goes into like, this is the future. You're talking to the Persian like several years later. And he's kind of saying what happened afterward. He releases them or whatever. And eventually the next morning they find a body by the lake. And it's Count Philippe. I don't ever think I brought up Count Philippe, but he's Raoul's brother, the Viscount. So he's dead. He eventually came after Raoul because they were like fighting, because he's like, why are you up on this Christine lady? You're always following her. Like, he didn't get it. And Raoul's gone. So he's like, all right, I gotta go find my little brother. He's obviously like crazy about this girl. I'm gonna go underneath the opera. So he went looking for his brother and died. So it's kind of unclear if Eric killed him or not, but like, he is dead kind of near where Eric hangs out, so I don't know. And the Persian keeps trying to talk to the police and say what happened, and no one's listening to this guy. They're like, whatever, you're Persian, you're obviously crazy, you know, because racism, and probably the police just didn't care. They're just like, whatever, I don't care. So no one's listening. He's like, fine, I'll tell the reporters then, and he's gonna print like this op-ed about what happened. He gets a knock on his door. Guess what? It's Eric. He came to visit the Persian because they were old buddies back in the day. And so he's like, listen, it's all good. I'm dying. And he basically says what happened to Christine and Raoul, because you don't really find out what happens to them. And essentially he was with Christine, and Christine like consented to be his wife. She's gonna live with him. It's gonna be good. She consents to it. Like, knowing fully who he is, she's gonna be his wife. So like, he was like kind of moved by it, I guess. And then like eventually she like lets him kiss her like on the forehead. And he had never like kissed anybody anywhere in his whole life. And like, this is the first time someone like let him kiss her and didn't like recoil in horror. And so, of course, like, he just, like, loses his shit again. You know, the bare minimum of human kindness this guy gets. And he's just, like, blah, 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 like, blubbering like a baby. And it's really sad and pitiable. But, yeah, so she lets him kiss her on the forehead. And, like, he just, like, something else clicks in his crazy brain where he stops being Captain Stranglepants. And he's just like, okay, I'm in love with you. Obviously, you are not in love with me. Like, I know you're not. But I can't like do this to you. And he's gonna let her go off with Raoul, because obviously she loves Raoul. He's like, okay, you can go, but keep my ring. It's like my wedding gift to you guys. Wear my ring, and when I'm dead, come back and put it on my finger. That's all I'm asking for. So she's like, okay. And she kisses him on the forehead, and that's it. He just is like, oh my gosh, like just loses it. So this is like his one experience with someone like just giving him any kind of human kindness and like some affection, because the thing with Christine, she does have a lot of compassion for him, which is like majorly complicates the situation. If she was just like, no, right away, things might have been different. But the fact of the matter is she was just kind. And so it kind of warped his brain a bit. I'm not victim blaming Christine here, by the way. Christine is an awesome character. I really, really like her. She was gonna marry this guy to save a quarter of Paris. Like, she's a cool lady. I like Christine a lot. But, you know, just who she is as a human is what kind of, you know, perfect storm of events here. So Christine apparently had already left with Raoul. And so that's why Eric came over to the Persian's house to just talk to him, say, hey, by the way, I'm also dying now. I don't know why he's dying, he's just dying now. So that's kind of where it ends, pretty much. He just kind of dies, and no one really knows what happens. Eventually, like, I guess many, many years later, kind of where they are in the narrative now with the older Persian guy, they eventually find like a skeleton buried underneath the opera, and you know, it's just a skeleton at this point. No one knows who it is, except the skeleton had a gold ring on its finger, so they know it's Eric. So Christine did come back and put the ring on his finger and like bury him. I feel like you're supposed to feel conflicted about Eric. Is he like technically a bad guy? Yeah, he's kind of a product of his own upbringing. You know, he's horribly deformed. He's never had any human kindness. He's never really been around people that much. He doesn't really understand right and wrong all the way, so it kind of makes sense why he was doing all of these things, especially like in the East, when he was Captain Stranglepants, because like he didn't really know not to. Well, I'm not gonna say he didn't know not to. Obviously he knows, like, hey, murdering people, you shouldn't murder people, but like he didn't have the emotional capacity to care about it enough, because he didn't see them as people, I'm thinking, because he doesn't ever be with people. So I'm thinking it's more of that, but we're getting into like some heavy psychological character stuff right now. And I really, really liked Christine. She's a really cool heroine. They didn't give her enough time to be really smart and competent and awesome, because she is all those things. I really, really liked her a lot. Way more than I thought I was going to. I thought she was just gonna be like a victim the whole time, but like kind of no. Like, Christina was dope. Then you have Raoul, who's just like, I don't know, 1700s frat boy. Like, he's just not the brightest star in the sky, you know what I mean? He's just not the best. He's also young. I think he's like 19 or 20, so he has got some growing up to do. He's a young guy. He's not very emotionally intelligent yet, but like he runs off with Christina and I guess they're happy. And it just ends. There's no real conclusion to it. It's just kind of, oh, there you go, there, it's over. Kind of a bit of a mystery. And I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. I liked a lot of the characters. I liked a lot of things that I wasn't expecting to like, honestly. So I recommend. I think it's pretty fun. Also, it's relatively short. I think it's like 270 pages, so it's not that long of a book, and it's spooky, kind of. I mean, it's obviously not a real ghost or a real phantom, but it's like psychological horror, so there's that aspect. And also, you know, vibes. Let's get all the gothy vibes here, you know? I can read things for vibes. Anyway, I like this book. I don't always like my drunk classics, but I liked this one, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. Let me know in the comments down below, have you read Phantom of the Opera? If so, tell me what you thought. Did you like kind of really like Christine? I am shocked how much I like Christine. And I guess, have you seen any adaptations? Because I've never seen any adaptation of it. Let me know what those are like. Is Christine cool in those? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon.